Now let's go back a little bit as coaching. You've done some great things there coaching with the Paralympics.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. As I started my tenure at the School for the Blind, I coached wrestling and track and field. And we had some significant successes and were recognized as a high-performing school in those sports. And that led to my being invited to be the head track and field coach at what then was called the Olympics for the Disabled. And the Olympics for the Disabled up until 1976 was a world-level competition, but it was only for spinal paralyzed people in wheelchairs. And in 1976, it was decided to bring other disabilities in, blindness, CP, Les Ultra, which is a French term meaning the others, that involved a lot of musculoskeletal disabilities, et cetera, and amputee, and all of those sports came together for a world-level competition in Canada in 1976. And that really was the genesis for what eventually became the Paralympic movement. So as those disability groups came together at a world-level competition, here in the United States, we realized that this was going to move into something that was going to be significant in the evolution of the involvement of disability in sports. And so we came back from those competitions and gathered later in 1976 a group of people who were blind who had an interest in sports and formed what became the United States Association of Blind Athletes. And as that organization grew, at the same time that we were putting ourselves together, so were amputee, spinal paralyzed, all the other disabilities were forming groups to kind of regulate sports for their particular discipline. I ran sports programs for United States Association for Blind Athletes, USABA, it's easier to say. I ran their sports programs for a number of years. And inside disability, there are some there's a lot of politics between the disability groups. Now I'm talking about as sports are concerned, but I think we see that in non-sports activities and disability groups as well. So we were marching along, not making as much progress as we wanted to, and a handful of us sat back and realized the reason for that is we were treating this movement that we were in as individual isolated disability groups. And a handful of us from each of those disability groups came together and said, if we're really going to move this forward, we need to become one group, not 6 or 7, because we were competing against one another. And I would go into Kellogg's one day and make a pitch about blindness, and 2 days later, here'd come Paul DePace with the Wheelchair Association, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, Kellogg's would say, hey, we don't understand what's going on. You guys need to get together, get your act together. So we formed the initial group called the United States Disabled Sports Team. And the whole concept was to bring the disability groups together and act as one. We began to really gain some traction then. And as such, our disabilities represented millions and millions of people. And so we were able to approach and market ourselves and approach various communities and various big companies and Next thing you know, it had some power, and it eventually went from the United States Disabled Sports Team and became the United States Paralympic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get some traction and take us a break.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back.
Thank you.
So we'll be right back with our holiday show.